Hello everyone, welcome back to Chessboard Baseball. I am APO, and we're just going to go through the first 50 games of the Dodgers regular season. We all know that the Dodgers sit at 31-19 as far as the record, and that they're first in the division right now, but this is just analyzing Chessboard Baseball itself as far as the offensive players, so we're not going to get too much into the traditional stats. Actually, we're not going to cover that at all. We're just going to go over the rankings so far according to Chessboard Baseball. And again, Chessboard Baseball is very different than the traditional stats. It's not only a result-based statistic. It takes into account, and actually the majority of it is process. And by process, I mean the quality of plate appearances that each player has, regardless of the outcome. Now, the outcome also has a value, and it is weighted as well. But this looks at the plate appearances themselves, quality plate appearances, and the consistency of quality plate appearances. What do I mean by quality of plate appearances? Meaning that do the players swing at strikes? Do they make contact at pitches that are strikes? And do they, and again, if the system punishes those players who constantly swing at pitches outside the strike zone, who make contact, even if they get a single or if they get a double, but if the contact came by swinging at a pitch that was outside the strike zone, the system will punish that as well. So it won't provide full points that they would otherwise get if they had made contact to a pitch that was in the strike zone. So that's all that it kind of looks at, and then it renders a score. So whereas traditional stats, regardless of how great of a plate appearance you had, regardless of whether you saw 20 pitches in an at-bat, if you strike out, that's what it is. It's a strikeout. It's going to hurt your OPS. It's going to hurt your batting average. It's going to hurt everything else. In Chessboard Baseball, that doesn't happen. You still get a score because not every strikeout, not every plate appearance is created equal. So as we don't appear to have a metric that rewards or that can look at one singular plate appearance and provide an actual score as to what actually happened. And that's what we do in Chessboard Baseball. So we're just going to look at the current rankings for the Dodgers in Chessboard Baseball through the first 50 games of the season, this 2026 season. So let's look at that. All right, so here we go. Here's what we have, the current scores and the rankings. Now, they are divided by role. So the chessboard role, so we have our queens, who are Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman. We have our rooks, who are Kyle Tucker, Will Smith, Max Muncy, and Mookie Betts. We have our bishops and knights, who are Alex Gall, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, Hyeseong Kim, Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez, and Tommy Edman. And then we have our pawns, Alex Freeland, Dalton Rushing, Santiago Espinal, and Ryan Ward in the couple games that he came up through the major league team. Now, these players, according to their role, they'll get a point, and this label just grants them a higher score, meaning that each plate appearance by Shohei Ohtani is worth 9 points. Each plate appearance by Kyle Tucker is worth 5 points. Each plate appearance by bishops and knights, 3 points. Each plate appearance by a pawn, 1 point. Why do we do that? Well, we do that. I mean, even as we watch the games, we understand that a plate appearance by Shohei Ohtani, with the expectation level, it's way higher. Regardless of what happens, we want to see that plate appearance, and we value that plate appearance way higher than when Kim comes to bat. It's just something that we do. But it's the value difference. So that's why we use chess. And this is all based on chess, right? So even in chess, the queen is worth 9 points, the rooks are worth 5 points, so on and so forth. So I apply that same concept to baseball. However, I understand that when comparing players, when ranking players and evaluating them across the board, we have to make it a little bit more fair, and that's where the Rook average comes in. So when I talk about Rook average, is now everyone is at the same playing field, meaning that the identifier for being a queen or a rook, that value added, doesn't come into play. Now, we still have it on the left side. If you look here, 2026 CBB, that's the Chessboard Baseball score. That's just the pure raw numbers with the queen or the rook or the bishop identifier added to that. The Rook average is everyone being graded as if they were a rook. So the Rook is the one that's pretty much in the middle. So we use the Rook to put Rook average. What's their actual score? So when we look at the rankings now, we're going to do it based on the Rook average for each player. And when we look at that, something interesting really happens, because as you can see, the Rooks pretty much outscore, I mean, and without the identifier, right? The Rooks and the Queens outscore the Bishops and the Knights, with the exception of Alex Call. Now, Alex Call is a super interesting situation, circumstance. I don't really know, player. He currently is the #1 chessboard baseball player. Now, he only has, I think, 58 plate appearances. So we haven't really looked at this at crazy sample size, but what you get from Alex Call is a consistent level of quality plate appearances. Every time he comes to play, you know for a fact that this guy will very likely not swing at pitches outside the strike zone. This guy, I just don't understand how it happens. He just gets walks like crazy. He doesn't swing at bad pitches. He provides quality at bats every time he comes to the plate. Now, the problem with Alex Call, that even though he does that and he has racked up an amazing chessboard baseball score, just because he doesn't have terrible plate appearances, all of his plate appearances are solid. The problem is he doesn't have a lot of power. He doesn't look at his EV, right? His exit velocity. Average exit velocity for the season is very low. I mean, among the lowest, if not the lowest in the team. It is the lowest in the team. 85.4, and that is super low. He does no damage essentially. Right now, when he hits, he can get a single here and there. He'll barely get a double if he's lucky, but he won't get any extra base hits. He'll get a single and he'll get a walk, meaning that he'll get on base. And if you want that, he could be an excellent ninth hole hitter if you want him in front of Shohei Ohtani, so that he can get on base whenever Shohei and the big hitters come up to the plate. But he's not going to do any damage. So that's on, even though his, and this is something that you have to do when you use chessboard baseball as an evaluator. You can say, oh, well, this guy has the highest chessboard baseball because he's got consistent plate appearances, but he just doesn't do any damage. And while the process is sound and you love that, the results simply aren't there as far as the huge damage and getting some runs on the board. But yes, Alex Call is currently by a large margin, by over 2 full points. And you can see the difference here. No one else really has that. So Alex Call is by far the #1 player as far as chessboard baseball when we talk about quality plate appearances, and we see it. This is no mystery every time that he comes up to the plate. Now, the second player up here is Kyle Tucker. So Kyle Tucker, I believe he's got, and well, I mean, we can see it here, right? He's got a 748 OPS. And I'm going back to Alex Call. He has an 822 OPS, which is not bad. Most of that is the on-base percentage and not so much the struggling. I mean, the slugging percentage, because he's not a slugger. So, but Kyle Tucker, he's doing better. He started kind of rough. He's doing a lot better, especially lately. So he's got a 1022, and he's the second best player as far as chessboard baseball on the Dodgers. And his exit velocity is good. He's just a solid #2. He's good. You know that every time that he comes up, he'll swing at the first pitch a lot, because he swings his strikes, right? If it's a strikes that's coming, and a lot of pitchers just swing or throw him first pitch strikes, he's going to swing at it. That's just what he does. He's not going to wait. I've seen Mookie Betts waiting a little bit more. You see players like like Freddie Freeman waiting for their pitch. But Tucker, if it's in the strike zone, he's going to swing at it, which is good, right? He doesn't seem to be striking out too much. He's controlling that, and that's because he's not wasting time and he's swinging at pitches. If you strike out, and especially if you have a bad strikeout, chessboard baseball is going to punish that player quite a bit. #3 is Freddie Freeman, and before the season started, I predicted that Freddie Freeman would probably be the top player for chessboard baseball because we all know he's a professional hitter, he's a pure hitter. He's got a tremendous understanding of the strike zone, so he knows when the pitch is a ball, when the pitch is a strike, and he just makes excellent contact with it. We see it also by his exit velocity, which is almost 92, um, averaging for the season, and his OPS 788, which is lower than what we're accustomed to for Freddie Freeman. But you can see that he's finding his groove again, especially the last two games against the Padres. One game he had 2 home runs, the other game he had 2 doubles. So in every time he swings, even though he's out, he's putting really excellent swings at it, making excellent contact with the ball. So you know that his numbers are going to improve. But yes, I actually thought that Freddie Freeman would win this chessboard baseball. Now it's still early, and we'll have to see how Alex Call. But Alex Call right now is just crazy. But we'll see if anyone will catch up to Alex Call, or if Alex Call will start coming down on this, because right now it's kind of insane, right? And I highlight it because it's just an outlier. But yeah, Freddie Freeman, good, number 3 on chessboard baseball. I think he'll overtake Tucker pretty easily. So we'll have to see. All right, number 4, Will Smith. And this is another interesting one. Why? Because out of all these players here that we see, as far as the, before we get to the pawns, right? Because the pawns is a different story as far as OPS. But rooks, bishops, knights, queens, Will Smith has the lowest OPS. And if we were to only evaluate traditional stats, batting average, OPS, whatever else you want to bring up, Will Smith is looking terrible, right? For the most part. And he was even so much so that he was even recently um, broke down in the lineup, in the batting order. He was number 7 the last game against the Padres, meaning that there's even the coaching staff and everyone is conceding that he's struggling. But Chessboard Baseball is saying that he's among the best. He's number 4. He's almost there, almost catching up to Freddie Freeman. And they also, depending on the game or the series, Will Smith may go above Freeman, and then Freeman, if it's having a really bad series or a bad stretch, he'll come down. Because even though Will Smith is not producing as far as results, but his process continues to be sound. If you look at his plate appearances, Will Smith barely makes any, swings outside the strike zone or pitches outside the strike zone. He will put the ball in contact and the ball in play on pitches in the strike zone. So he still has a sound process, and his exit velocity is actually better than Cal Tucker. So he's driving the ball, he's hitting the ball hard, 89.5. That's pretty good. It's just the results are not coming yet. But the results will come, especially if the process it's sound. You just got to continue to ride with him. I understand the frustration to say, well, the guy's not hitting, he sucks, we got to do something about him. Maybe put Russian in, maybe put him down in the order. But hopefully something like Chessboard Baseball can tell you, no, his time will come. This is, it's baseball, right? A lot of times you can hit the ball really hard, you can have a sound process and not see results, because that's what it is. You can hit the ball straight to an outfielder or to someone on defense, but then eventually that will even out. So I think for Will Smith, hopefully the Dodgers continue to be patient and continue to place him, to me, in the top of the batting order, because he's setting himself up for a breakthrough here soon. He's not a 669. He's a career 850 or something OPS. Even last year, he had a 901 OPS. You just got to be patient with Will Smith. This number 4 tells you that there's nothing about his mechanics or his process that's hurting him. So I just hope they chill out with Will Smith and don't start to hit him 9th or something in the lineup, because I'm seeing the Pajes thing, and we'll get to Andy Pajes because he's super low here in Chessboard Baseball, but they're bringing him up in the batting order, and I think that's a mistake. But anyways, let's get to it. Max Muncy is next, and Max Muncy has a really nice combination of at times having good plate appearances, but he also can be erratic, and he's super erratic. Thankfully for him, he's been producing. He's been getting results, right? He's hitting a bunch of home runs. He has come through in different situations, right? He's hitting the ball hella hard, right? The only person who's hitting the ball harder than Muncy is Shohei Ohtani. So he's definitely barreling the ball. He's doing an excellent job, but Max Muncy is definitely prone to having horrendous plate appearances, chasing a lot, uh, just going up there and looking silly. uh, you know, he could strike out on 3 pitches, all 3 pitches outside the strike zone. Now, that doesn't happen as often as it happens with Teoscar Hernandez or as often as it happens with Andy Pajes, but it happens more often than you would expect from someone like Max Muncy. So it's just you never know any given plate appearance if you're going to have a disciplined Muncy or a super erratic Muncy. And then that is kind of where you get the 972. And here, the difference between Muncy, you look at his OPS, which is 891, and then you compare him with Will Smith, which is 669. And it's like, in what world or under what system would Will Smith be ranking higher than Max Muncy? And that just tells you like the difference in process between Smith and Muncy is that much of there's that much of a gap between the two of them. Process wise, Will Smith will not look that silly as often as Max Muncy does at the plate, even though he's not producing. So that's just the difference, right? If you're consistent in chessboard baseball, you'll be all right. Max Muncy may have a really great score from one plate appearance, but then 4 plate appearances in a row, he'll have terrible plate appearances. He'll catch up because of the results that are coming in. But Will Smith, even when he flies out, even at times when he strikes out, he still has a decent chessboard baseball score just based on the process and the amount of pitches that he tends to see plate appearance to plate appearance. Number 6 is Shohei Ohtani, and he is actually surging. He's surging when it comes to chessboard baseball, especially lately. He has been the series MVP for 2 series in a row, one against the Angels, once against and the other against the Padres. He is, you can see, and he's still not really in, Shohei Ohtani MVP mode at the plate yet. But he's still surging. So if he turns it on, which I think we all expect that he will, maybe later this month or starting June, July timeframe, then he could be positioning himself definitely in the top 4, top 3 when it comes to chessboard baseball. Now, Otani, just like maybe Muncy and Teoscar, he's prone to horrendous plate appearances as well. And it's just interesting because there are games where he is on, where he can identify every pitch. So it's not like who he is. It just really depends on the day. There are days where he's lost at the plate, he has no idea what's coming. There are days where he can do no wrong. He won't chase and everything like that. And it doesn't really matter the quality of the pitcher. There are, I think, I don't know if it was yesterday or when, but there's been some pitchers who have dominated the rest of the Dodgers, but not Ohtani. So it really, I don't, it's interesting to see, but he does have a tendency at some games to look like, man, should this guy even be a hitter? Like, does he know what a strike is? Does he know what a ball is? And then he's got some games where he's like, I don't know, Edgar Martinez, Freddie Freeman or something like that. But lately he's been on, right? He's been on. He's putting on tremendous plate appearances, walking a lot, hitting extra base hits, coming in clutch. So he's surging. He's surging. He's a 6, and if he continues as he is right now, he's going to overtake a few of these people, especially by the end of the season, which I'm super interested to see. Then number 7, Teoscar Hernandez, which I'm kind of surprised by. I thought that he was going to be one of the worst ones when it comes to chessboard baseball, especially at the beginning of the season. He was terrible as far as chasing all the time, but lately he has been solid. He's really not only putting excellent swings on the ball, but really being patient and disciplined at the plate. Um, Again, it just seems like these players have, their moments where they can't at times they're extremely lost, and at times they're really on, and nothing can derail them. And right now, Teoscar is a really good groove, and it's been like a good month where Teoscar has been solid at the plate. There's been criticism, and I've been super critical of him both on defense and at the plate. But lately, he's been solid. He's been pretty good. Mookie Betts, and this is another interesting one again, because if you look at the numbers, he's hitting like 180 batting average. His OPS is 684, which again is not like a Mookie Betts type OPS. But as far as his process, especially since he came back from injury, before the injury, he was struggling a little bit at the plate. He was having terrible plate appearances, but since he came up, even though he's not getting as much by far of results, but his plate appearances have been super solid, really solid. He's barely striking out. I mean, I don't even remember him striking out that much. And he's swinging at pitches in the strike zone. He's driving it too. Like if you look at the exit velocity, 91.4, he's putting really good swings at the ball. But again, he's been unlucky. Like him and Smith, I kind of feel bad for, because they are really hitting the ball really well, just right at defenders or right at the fence. Like I think yesterday he had a ball that was almost a home run, but I think it was a double. And that's happened a few times with Mookie Betts, just hitting the ball really hard right at defenders. So, and the process is good. So just continue to hit Mookie second, because the results are gonna come. The process is definitely there. And then ninth, Andy Pajes. And I know maybe like people will say, nah, this system is broken if you have Andy Pajes ninth, you know? Ninth on the team as far as chessboard baseball scores. Someone who is, 832 OPS, has I don't know how many home runs, and apparently leading the league in RBIs, but his process is just very inconsistent as far as Pages. And his plate appearances are, even when he has a positive result, it came from a broken process. So he'll swing at pitches outside the strike zone, he'll get an 0-2, and then he'll chase and make contact at a ball that was way outside the strike zone and still get a hit somehow. And then he's at first, and in the traditional stats, when it comes to OPS, when it comes to a batting average, that's going to look good. But according to Chessboard Baseball, it's like, no, that process is broken, and it's not going to last too long if the player continues to have results from broken processes. And that's mainly the Pajes thing that I feel bad about. Sometimes it's like, whoa, he hit a home run, but that at bat was terrible. Now he had a really good plate appearance a couple days ago against Mason Miller that resulted in an out, but it was like a ninth pitch at bat, and he had a really positive result when he came to Chessboard Baseball. So he'll have his moments with that, but for the most part, Pajes is one of those players who struggles and who has consistently um, bad plate appearances. As far as we see it all the time, swinging at pitches outside the strike zone, striking out really bad on 3 pitches, most of them outside the strike zone. He will look at strikes and then swing at pitches outside the strike zone. And that happens very often. So that will hurt you. Now, the important thing is not to say, chessboard baseball is the tells you the value of a hitter. No. You can't just go by. That's why I compare this to exit velocity, and I also compare it to OPS. And that way you have the full picture. So right now, okay, you know that Pajes is a 921 chessboard baseball score. It's not horrible, but it's not among your best. But the OPS is 832 and exit velocity is over 90, meaning that, okay, the process is not that broken where you can't play him. It's actually sound enough where you can justify having him, hit higher in the lineup. Although I wouldn't, I will still continue to have him seventh or eighth or something like that. Um, just because he might, I mean, the other day he grounded out to I don't know how many double plays. Um, he has a tendency to just when you need him most, yes, he can come through, but also um he could have a terrible plate appearance or ground into a double play or whatever the case may be. I still think he's having an excellent season. He's having good results. I don't want to say it's lucky or anything like that. He does have, of course, he's got tremendous skill. And he's only improving. However, the process at the plate still needs some work. Is what I would say. Then number 10, we have Kim with a 899, and he's below 9. So if you see anything above 9, it's kind of like a green, like light green color because it's good. I mean, then the solid green is super great. But now if you're at yellow, but he's he's 0.01 away from having 9 and being there. So Kim is good. The problem with Kim is this: is 85.5 exit velo. He doesn't really drive the ball that much. He doesn't hit it with authority. I did think that Freeland was hitting the ball a lot better, and the difference in chessboard baseball score is not that much. So again, I just don't know whether this whole subject is dead as far as Freeland versus Kim. I don't know. Now, they're both good. They're both solid options. But the 85.5 exit velo is concerning in my opinion. Do you want more damage? Or are you okay with what Kim is currently bringing? He'll hit a single here and there. And his process is okay. His process is not that bad. His approach at the plate, I would say average, kind of similar to a little bit better than Pajes, I would say, but similar in that sense, but still needs some work for sure. And then after that is Freeland. So yes, 10 is Kim, 11 was Freeland. Not sure what they're gonna do with the Freeland thing. Um, Exit velo 88.7, which is not bad. The OPS came down a little bit, but I think he just needed more reps. But anyways, that was Freeland. I'll just go through the rest uh super fast. And the other interesting one, of course, is Dalton Rushing, who is 13 on the team as far as Rook average for chessboard baseball. Even though he has a 924 OPS, but his process, and I think we all see it, his process at the plate has just been really bad as well, consistently bad. He started really good, but he has, ever since those home runs that he hit against San Francisco, that ballooned his OPS, I don't know, to nearly 2000 or whatever, 2 point something. Um, He's come down quite a bit since that. Not a lot of production since, and not a lot of quality plate appearances since. So we'll see if this changes. But Russian, not sure if he continues to be your option to DH. Now he's got that power, um, the tendency to hit the ball for power, to hit it out the ballpark. So that's good. That's something that you would want. You'd sacrifice the chance for that, you sacrifice process for results, and you can. The process is not the problem. It's not coming consistently either. So, and then Espinal, and I'd suspect Espinal, I mean, he's last by a lot as far as chessboard baseball. I suspect he's the one who's going to be gone whenever Kike or Tommy Edman come back up, because I mean, he's just not really cutting it with chessboard baseball either. So, but as you can see, the ones that have been designated as pawns, they're towards the bottom. The ones designated as bishop, knight, and knights, they're kind of, they're in the middle of the pack. But then the rooks and the queens are the ones who are sitting at among the top. in the team. Now Mookie Betts is still eighth, but I suspect that he's gonna continue to get better and improve, and you'll naturally have the queens and the rooks with the best chessboard baseball scores, with the one crazy outlier exception that is Alex Call. Well, that's pretty much it for this video, for this breakdown of the chessboard baseball scores through the first 50 games of the Dodgers season here in 2026. We'll see how it continues to happen. I'll do another one for the 75 games, so on and so forth. But so far, very interesting results. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on the system. It could seem crazy to a lot of you, of course, but that's all I got. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.